everybody, and welcome to another episode of Bits About Bots, where we have leaders, practitioners, industry experts who do day in, day out intelligent automation activities for their organization at an enterprise scale. Today, I am joined by one of our clients, Kelly from Genesco, and she's going to be telling us a little bit of a different story than what we tend to talk about here on Bits About Bots. She's new to intelligent automation. She's gotten the bug of intelligent automation that we've all learned to have and love. And she's going to tell us a little bit about how she got into this organization, how she contributes to what Genesco does in IA, and a few nuggets on how other people that are thinking about maybe getting intelligent automation could possibly go about adding that to their career track. So Kelly, thank you so much for giving us the time today. We're so honored to have you as a client. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you very much, Paula. My name is Kelly Bussell. I'm with Genesco, Inc. Our company handles the Journey and the Johnson & Murphy shoe stores and products. Very excited. I've been with the company this week a year, and yes, yay, kudos. Totally the best company I've ever worked for by far. So it's been a joy. It's been a pleasure, and I've learned a lot. I've got a lot more to learn.
Well, that's fantastic, Kelly. And I think that's the name of the game, right? As technology continues to increase at such a rapid pace, it's on us to continuously teach ourselves, learn, evolve, and grow. And so I just think that that's so fantastic what you've been able to contribute to Genesco in such a short amount of time. So congratulations, first of all, on your year milestone. I'm sure everybody's thrilled about that. And let's get into it. So you did come across to Genesco and came and fell into or landed, or however you want to place it, into this intelligent automation space. And what's so fascinating to me about your story when we first met is that you shared that you hadn't had this experience prior to. So why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about your background and how that segued into a career in intelligent automation and this industry that you absolutely adore that you're practicing now?
Sure. My previous company had RPA. Another manager got to handle that. So it intrigued me, but I didn't know much about it. So when this position with Genesco came up, and my title is IT finance manager. So when I saw that little bit about RPA in the job description, I was totally excited. I was like, what is that? What does that have to do with it? But I'll take it. So turns out the reason it is in my particular department, my team handles this for our company, is one of the directors of our finance had used RPA in his previous position. So during the whole COVID fun time, he decided to bring this up to the company, and that's where it started. So I'll give Brent kudos for that. That's where it came from. And with him being on the finance side, on the business side, it came into our group to kind of check it out, see what it's all about, see what we can do with it and how it can help. And so I've just thoroughly loved how the company has handled it, because they've taken it. It didn't have to come in straight in from IT and some, geek, how we are. We love all new little things and stuff. It came from the business side, the idea. So, he was our big stakeholder. He took it to my boss on the IT side. And between the two of them, they've created this group. And this group started half a year before I started with the company, and started small. We had one bot, and we've kind of grown on it. And I've absolutely been thrilled to be involved in it. So I can't wait to tell you more about it.
Well, Kelly, and that's fantastic. And you just completely segued to an area that I evangelize. I work very closely with CFOs in my practice. So I tend to work on the business side more than I do on the IT side. So I love that you have that lens of the IT world. And typically what happens is there's sometimes resistance from IT, because you do have your governance, you do have the compliance, you already have systems to maintain, you've got a full-time job, like easy over there, Mr. Finance or Miss Finance. I don't got time for your extra toys, that you're playing
Yep.
around with bots. And in the case of Genesco, there's been a very synergistic relationship between IT and finance, which lends itself to have so much power and so much value. Tell us a little bit about the stakeholder alignment. You touched on how they connected and they had some of this to begin with, but how did that trickle down in the organization, right? Both on the finance side with Brent's group. And for those of you who don't know, Brent is going to be on an episode of Bitz about bots, but he's a finance leader. So we'll have both perspectives. And then from your side, Kelly, from your leader, how it trickled down to the folks that you manage. How do you manage that relationship, and not only the relationship, but really the communication that we're on the same team here, working towards the same goal, paddling in the same boat? Because I think that's a really crucial and special part of how Genesco operates, is that you guys don't have friction in that area. You guys are very much connected in getting those objectives done.
Well, one of the benefits of this being I think in our finance side is that my team handles the, accounts payable, accounts receivable, all the finance stuff, and a few other, real estate and all that kind of thing. So we get a little bit of pieces of a lot of different groups in the company. And so, with Brent being in there and my manager he'd been with the company long enough that he'd had his, sites on all groups. They apparently what they did, and before I got there, is they grouped together and said, okay, let's just come up with some ideas. Where do we think RPA can help us? And they put together a list. And so when I got there, that was just starting. We partner with WonderBotz, which is fabulous. I can't give them enough kudos. Great vendor to work with. And we just got started. We did a pilot program. We took something big, we took something small. And so we started creating that pipeline. And that pipeline we gave, what's it going to cost? What's the cost savings that we're going to have? What other kind of benefits do we have? That's what I love about this, is it's not just about money. It's about employee engagement. It's about, building up your customer relationship. There's so many things that we've already touched on in such a short amount of time. And I noticed that, a lot of people will push back. A lot of people are saying, like I said, I don't have time. I've already got my full-time job. I don't have time to learn something new, to try something new. And just, everybody's hesitant, especially about bots. So what we try to do is we try to get something small. Let's just get out there and take something as simple as, kind of a complicated spreadsheet, and let us help you create it. You don't have to do anything different. You just literally go, and I will say COVID helped on this, and people became comfortable with doing the work on the computer and sharing their screen. Mm-hmm. So we said, just share your screen. Just share your screen. We'll just watch. We'll record it. We'll watch it. And then we'll create something. And so it really didn't take away from their time. They were doing it anyway. That was taking up their time anyway. So we started small. We got customer buy-in is what we did. We let them know that this isn't going to hurt and it's only going to help. And so it was a process, and it was building up. And then, once we got about, 6 months since I've been here, so it'd been a full year that the company had been using the RPA, the automation, that we took our results to our stakeholders and to the company higher up, and showed them what a substantial time saving it was and some of the benefits. So kind of just keeping that paperwork from our point of view, and getting all the little kudo emails and adding them all up and putting them in a folder and sending it up. It was quite refreshing. I've got nothing negative to say about it. I'm sure something will come up someday.
Well,
right now we're good.
And I love that you have such a wonderful and positive attitude about it, Kelly, because, I think a lot of times, and there's been a disservice in the market, probably years ago, 5, 10 years ago, where it was RPA is so easy, anybody can do it, it's easy as pie. And to an extent that's true for vendors or service providers like WonderBotz, right, where we've been at it for
Yeah,
a while. We've learned from early on mistakes, better ways to do things, optimization of the way that we do things. But as you
right.
scale, Genesco will experience growing pains, right? As we add different technologies, as we look at different departments, there will be growing pains. And so those early wins are so crucial to have the momentum and to have the buy-in and to have the excitement about those little brag sheets. And I encourage you guys to keep your little brag sheets so that you see year over year, we didn't think we could do this and look at what we did, right? And we went from
Yeah,
one bot to 15. And oh, by the way, 15 bots now service 25 automations because we've optimized the way that we do our run times. So those wins that you start getting along the way are just milestones worth recording and worth celebrating, just beyond a doubt worth celebrating.
definitely,
um
definitely.
so so I wanted to ask you too. I think you're in a unique position as well, not only being new to the program, having been incepted, right? You came into the program that was sort of just taking flight, getting its wings. The other thing is that all of those stakeholders that you pulled together, this isn't necessarily for everybody, right? So I'm sure
Right.
not everybody has that bug of curiosity. Not everybody has that lens that says, let me look at the entire organization, not just what my task is, right? And there's a certain element of what your role has been probably in the past, in your past employers, that's really put you in a position to have a unique advantage here, because you have seen and worked with various stakeholders across multiple business lines in the past.
Hmm.
You mentioned cash application, you mentioned some very crucial functions to a business. So, how has that background really shaped your ability to add value at Genesco? And what advice would you give to somebody that maybe wants to dip their toes into the idea of automation as a career?
Well, I suppose my biggest thought here is, you don't have to go huge immediately. You can start small and it can build up. And, we've added more bots on. We have that great relationship with WonderBotz where, if it's a bigger project that's going to take enough time that we want to get somebody on it full time, they'll handle it. Or my team, who's learned the language, we're in there doing the same thing, but we handle the smaller ones because I noticed that, and actually one of the our customers, our business people said, we didn't want to bother IT. We didn't want to bother them because we know you guys are busy and we know you guys don't have time. And this takes a day of our time a week, and to them, that sounds like nothing compared to a project that maybe they see that IT is working on, some great big project. And so by us having, the members on my team go in and do some of the smaller ones, it just immediately gave them results. It immediately improved the IT business relationship. And that was huge. That was all these misperceived, and maybe not so incorrectly. IT gets busy. We get busy and we want the big bang, we want the big results. But, start small, select a team or a couple of people that can do the small stuff, and you build that up. And one of the things that we have definitely, from the background that I've had and my team has had, some of our real big benefits is going through this process with the business. Everything didn't go to a bot. We already had the software. We were already doing it. We were able to say, why do you do that? Why don't you just run this other report? We've learned so much about our own business from this and allowed them to take advantage of more than just the bots. So I just think keeping that big, broader type, big picture look at it has been beneficial. So
Absolutely. And it changes the narrative about what IT is supposed to be responsible for, right? Because
Mhm.
IT has gotten so much put on them as a business unit over time. I mean, you've seen, cybersecurity, I mean, everything has to stop when you
Yeah.
have a breach, big transformations that used to be multi-million dollar transformations that took, 3 to 5 years. That has to be a priority, right? And so measuring out the
Right.
priorities of what you're going to do within an operating year versus what's a strategic move, right? Those are the kind of things that I think letting the business in with these types of projects and these types of programs that have to do with intelligent automation really allow for empathy among each other's business units, right? And now, Kelly, I understand what you do, and then Kelly, you now understand what I do, Paula, over here in finance, and that we're just trying to march to the same beat and be efficient and optimize and modern along the way, right? And I think that's really what the aim of every organization's objectives are. We throw around these buzzwords like digital transformation and these very big words, right? And these very big concepts. And really, I think all we're trying to do is just make work better, and we're
Yeah.
just we're just trying to make work better, and we're just trying to keep people happy in their seats, and we're just trying to make the work get done in a way that our clients are going to appreciate, that the cash flow is going to appreciate, that our stakeholders, our investors, our shareholders, whatever it may be, that has the stake invested in what it is that we're trying to achieve. We're just trying to make work better. And if you
Right.
can if you can dial it down to that simplest of terms, I think it makes these concepts far less daunting, and it's more about the human and less about the machines. So I wanted to also ask
Great.
you, because you've just been so fundamental in bringing that human component to this, because it's not every IT person that has the lens that you do. And so I think you have a very special profile as an IT leader. And one of the other things that's really important is understanding the different tools to leverage. So you sort of touched on it, and I'd love for you to capitalize on that a little bit more, because just like when we're building a house or building something out of an IKEA box, right? You don't always need a hammer for every job, right? And not
Right.
each tool, not one tool fits all, challenges. So how is it that you begin to educate? Because I really think there's a component of education in your role. How do you educate your stakeholders or your clients, right? Your internal clients that come to you and say, Kelly, I need this solved. What is the process that you go about in communicating, dialoguing, and problem solving? What tool might really truly be right for the job?
Well, I think I want to start there by saying, I've learned a lot. I've learned different tools and stuff. So whenever as an example, um, we've helping somebody that already gets reports from Cognos, from our Cognos system. And one of my mistakes that I made is when we start going through this and we're like, okay, yeah, sure, we can do this, we can do that. If you can do it manually and not have to make some kind of, on the fly decision, we can do that for you. Well, so we get through this process and we get further down and we get deeper into the dive of it. And we realize, you know what? This report, it would be better if we had this information on it. So, I go to the manager of the group that handles the Cognos reports. And they're like, this would have really been nice if we'd have been involved from the get go. And I'm like, dang, didn't think of that. Yeah, so it was a big lesson learned to involve some more people at the beginning. So to really pay attention to what you're trying to automate and what software and what tools are already being used.
Hmm.
And to get those people at the beginning, it might be as simple as sending them an email and saying, we're thinking about this. And they're like, yeah, go ahead. We don't care. It might be that's quick. It might be they want to be involved in that first, deep dive meeting. It might be they'll come back, say, when you get farther along, come back to me. But it with the whole process, you want to improve let me kind of step back a little bit. I didn't ever, at the beginning especially, I didn't want to change their processes very much at the beginning, because that's when they'll immediately say, no, not interested. I like it the way it is. I already know what I'm doing. I don't want to change anything. I don't want to learn anything new. So we tried not to do that. We tried to keep the processes exactly like it is and replicate it, whether we felt that was the most efficient way or not. Once they got the results, once they got comfortable working with a bot, then we will go back and we'll say, I think we can improve that a little bit. Here's some ideas. And of course, at that point in time, they realize they're not even involved. They still get the same results. It's done in a more efficient way. So we do have to work with the other team members in IT. We do have to work with the other tools and take advantage of how it can just be improved using a better way with that other tool. Not, like I said, not always an automation, an RPA automation process. So.
No, I completely agree. And I think that's where wisdom comes in when it comes to applying technology. And then you couple that with experience and you begin to have a working model that makes sense, right? And the intake of the requests for automation can then either be, bifurcated out to different groups, that also have other tools that perhaps could be right fit for the job. Or, maybe there's a strategy session on something that maybe needs to be procured that could help with multiple, use cases or challenges that the organization sees. So Kelly, this has been so absolutely informative. I appreciate your insights so much. I kind of want to leave it on sort of a last note, a takeaway, if you will. There's not very many women in the intelligent automation space, in IT, in this area in general. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm tapped to be the token woman, spokeswoman, for IT engagements and conferences and stuff like that. And on one hand, it's flattering, and on the other hand, I'm like, dang, we have a long way to go. Like, why has it got to be so few of us that are involved in this? So as a parting word, I'd love for you to help, tell from your perspective some of the novices, some of the women maybe graduating college or leaving high school right now that are perhaps thinking of what it is that they want to do in college, what they want to be when they grow up. I still think about what I want to be when I grow up, right? And what are some parting words that you'd instill on females that might be intimidated by this being such a male-dominated world, a male-dominated industry, and to just get themselves involved, have a seat at the table, and begin to embrace some of these technological careers that haven't traditionally been open to females as much as our male counterparts?
Well, we haven't talked about this, Paula, so I'll give you a little of my history. I started in IT, as I like to say, back when they created Dirt. So, whenever I started, there was literally cards. There was, I was graduating out of high school and I thought, what do I want to do? And I've heard about this thing called a computer. And so let's go see what that's like, Well, that was back in 1981. I'm just told my age. So that there was no women involved, and it was so new. But it's, whenever you get into computers in any IT, it either clicks or doesn't. So you're going to know if it clicks, and you're going to know if you like it, and just stick with it, because look what's changed in my time. I mean, we went from cards and mainframes to a computer on your thing to your phone to doing what we're doing now, having a complete conversation worlds apart. So and I took several years off to have a family, took off and came back. It's still that same logical concept. So jump right back in. If you want to take off for a while, take off for a while, come back in, and it always is changing. So regardless of whether you've been there or not, from last year and this year, it's new, it's changed. So you do have to like change. You do have to be prepared for that. But we women, we can multitask. So having multiple screens, having multiple languages, having multiple all that, it's something that they naturally, I think, can do. So I encourage these ladies to get out there and try it and show everybody what they can do.
And I think with that, that's a fabulous way to end. I think the answer is just jump in, give it a shot. If it's for you, great. If it's not, there's always something else out there. And oh, by the way, it's going to change. So if you don't like it this year, there's probably going to be a whole new set of
Exactly.
attributes within this space next year.
Look at our RPA and automation. That's
Exactly.
all
It's,
new. That's the new
I
thing. So,
know, I know. We don't even call it RPA just by itself anymore. It's intelligent
nope.
automation. It's gotten
And
even bigger, you know, in and of
exactly.
itself. So, so I think those are fantastic parting words. Well, Kelly, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure catching up with you. I think everybody's really going to benefit from this conversation. Hopefully you got a lot out of it too. And I can't wait to interview you next year and see where Genesco sits on the paradigm and see how much further we've gotten together as partners.
All right. Well, go out and buy some shoes.
All right, sounds good. Send me that discount link and we'll go from there. Okay.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
All right. Thanks so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good day.